Looks like the live stream's live. This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Ah, oh, another cold, nasty day. We think this is probably the end of it. So it's December 12th. It's Friday, 8:23 in the morning. And what's the weatherman telling us? Find out. I haven't checked today. So we're going to hit a high of 64 and overcast till about lunchtime, and then straight sun the rest of the afternoon. That'll be nice. I'll be able to heat my hot water up for free off the solar. Tomorrow is pretty much, well, tonight will be down to 55, tomorrow 53, high of 64. Sunday sunny, high of 65. And then Monday, high chance of rain Monday and Tuesday. Well, this should give us a few days to dry the water out anyway. We did have bad flooding in Ashdod. Ashdod's like at the northern top of Gaza, right by the coast. So these storms usually will come in when they're bad. They'll come in off the Mediterranean. Not too often do we get flooding, though. I think we get it at the beginning of the rainy season when we get it, mostly because the sewers are clogged. I don't know why they don't clean them up. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't know. I'm not a sewage expert. I don't know. I know Tiberias usually floods after the first one or two rains, but you're talking about this much water, not much. Okay, so we're going to talk about what Trump did to Israel and what he's continuing to do to Israel, and I'm going to show you he's cursing Israel. We'll get into that today. That's going to be a big theme. We're going to cover the news. There's too much good news, and then we're going to do Bible work. So I'm going to try to fly through the news. But there's some really important things, like Cambodia and Thailand are really going at it. They're going into each other's country, crossing the borders, artillery, bombs from planes. It's heating up. Okay. And Bulgaria, the country of Bulgaria in Europe, it fell. The people protested, and the prime minister or the president resigned, and they got rid of them. That's basically another one bites the dust. How many times in the last year I've heard these people that sell survival supplies and purpose supplies, nuclear alerts, EAMs, emergency action messages, doomsday planes, for years. Nothing. And people keep listening to them. Alerts, EAMs, emergency action messages, doomsday planes, for years. Nothing. And people keep listening to them. Alerts, EAMs, emergency action messages. All right, I'm going to put a post up in the... Whoops, that's not going to work. I got to turn this stupid thing back on. Turn the volume down. And okay. Let me put a post up real quick. It's just going to take a few seconds, really. Give people a chance to come in. Let me put a post up real quick. It's just going to take a few seconds, really. Give people a chance to come in. Okay, I've got everything up here, and being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise, and then we'll get going. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, let's check this here. And it looks pretty okay. All right. So, probably a lot of you guys are wondering what Trump did, and I'll tell you what Trump did, and it's rather disgusting. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to tell you what Trump did, I believe, yesterday. Then I'm going to tell you some of the other things Trump did that you're probably not aware of. And you're probably not aware of this one either. Trump put pressure on our illustrious, horrible leader, Netanyahu, to clear the rubble or the rubbish or the rubble or the ruins of the buildings out of Gaza at the expense of Israel. There are 68 million tons of rubble, 68 million tons. It will take 5 to 7 years to clean it out. And it's very hard to estimate the cost, but they're saying $70 billion. Okay? Israel currently has 1.5 million people in food insecurity. They don't know where they're going to get their food from every day. Kids go to school without a lunch. They don't give them a free lunch. Okay? And he drops this on Israel. Now, who started the war? Did Israel do it? Did Israel decide to go take the military, invade Gaza, and tell the citizens of Israel that they could come in too, and they could rape the Palestinians, they could kill them, murder them, and take them back as hostages, and continue to rape them and torture them as hostages? Is that what Israel did? No. Is that what Gaza did? Yes. Yes. Okay? Did they commit war crimes and crimes against humanity when they came into Israel? They did. It's documented. Did they commit crimes against humanity and war crimes with the hostages? They did. Is Trump even suggesting that they pay a price for this so they don't do it again? No. No. He's giving them a get out of jail free card. Okay? Why is Trump doing this to Israel? To humiliate Israel, to show favor to Satan's chosen people, the Muslim terrorists, and to make people leave Israel. The war caused, we don't know the final count until the year's over, but it would be probably conservatively 300,000 to 450,000 Jews have left Israel. Have you ever in your life heard Trump ever say the Jewish people should return to their land in Israel? It's their land. No. Have you? No. Does God say that? Oh, quite a bit in the Bible. Does Trump fear God? Not a chance. Not a chance. So did Trump just curse Israel by making them rebuild the land of their enemy where they attacked them? And does Trump want them to leave Gaza so they don't attack again? Initially, he did. He was going to do the resort community. He wasn't going to let Israel have the land. No way he would do that. Satan would kill him. The Secret Service would just turn their back and some sniper would kill him or something. No. Secret Service is a double-edged sword against the president. You got to understand that. You got to understand what you're dealing with. Satan runs all the governments of the world now. He's the god of this age, and this age isn't over yet. Okay. So he's burdening Israel with billions and billions of dollars of expenses to help Gaza. Now, does Israel pay for humanitarian aid with Gaza? Yes, but it's disguised. We think it's up around maybe $2 billion or something. And that doesn't take into account the expense of our military keeping the food convoys as safe as they can. So we have food insecurity for 1.5 million people, and Trump is having believe me, Netanyahu didn't do this on his own. Trump is having Netanyahu give him humanitarian aid and now pay to remove the rubbish when these psychopaths started the war. Did Trump ever say, why don't you learn a lesson? Your God isn't real and isn't with you? Well, look what happened to you. No. Does Netanyahu ever say that? No, I don't think so. Maybe he would. I don't know. He might say something like that. And you know what happens when you curse Israel. Look back in time. I did I did a few videos on it when all the hurricanes hit and the bad storms and everything else right after they did bad things to Israel. Well, you better brace yourself in America because it's a coming. And you're not going to have a long wait. I'm telling you, Trump is going to be what appears to me your last president. And he ain't going to finish his term either. He's selling you out. Listen, you guys, there's nothing you could do about it except believe. This guy is pushing all the countries of the world around with the tariffs, and they don't like it. And the sanctions, and they don't like it. And they're just waiting and building up, and they're going to explode. It's a bully in junior high school coming over and shaking the kids down for lunch money. The kids get scared. The kids don't like him. They're afraid of him. He takes their lunches, takes their lunch money. They don't get to buy lunch. They're afraid to tell their parents. And then they finally get the idea that they need to gang up on him. And one of the smaller kids jumps on his back and weighs him down. Other kids try to tackle him and they knock him down on the ground. And then they start kicking him and jumping up and down on him and busting him up. And in the case of America, they kill it. And that's the story of Revelation 18, Jeremiah 50, 51, and Isaiah 47. Like it or lump it. That's what's happening. Now, how else is Trump cursing Israel? Well, the big thing you got to understand is he's now very comfortable with Gaza, with Hamas not disarming. Do you ever hear him or Witkoff or Rubio or Hegseth talk about Hamas has to disarm or we're going to disarm them? Do you hear it anymore? Nope. Nope. What does that mean? It means gutless wonder Trump is going to allow Hamas to keep their weapons and stay in Gaza. Is that a curse on Israel? Yeah, because Israel could drive them out. How do you drive them out? Just finish the bombing and then tell them we're not rebuilding Gaza. You rebuild it. Go to Qatar. Go to Iran. Tell them you need money to rebuild. You need about $500 billion. Tell them, go there. Leave us alone. We're not rebuilding. Why don't the other idiots that like Gaza, like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Egypt, why don't they pay for the rubbish removal? Because it's more humiliating to Israel. And it's what Satan wants. Did Gaza cause us tremendous economic distress? They did. How? First of all, we had to buy and expend massive amount of munitions that cost money. Fuel for planes, tanks, massive amount of money. They started it. You got to remember that. We gave them that land back stupidly. Netanyahu was involved in this heavily, I believe, in 2008 for peace. And they immediately turned it into a war zone. Okay? So Israel sort of, in the world scheme of things, meant well. In God's scheme of things, they were basically going evil. You don't do that. You don't give the land back that God gave you. God gave you the land, you're not going to have to give it back. It says in the scripture we'll never leave the land again, and we never did since 48. Okay, so the direct expense of the war was backbreaking to Israel. Okay? Next. Calling up hundreds of thousands of reservists repeatedly. They don't go to work. Israel doesn't pay them what they get paid for going to work. It hurts industry. It hurts the people. Okay? You understand? This is what goes on. Okay? Tourism. Killed tourism. It's still pretty dead. Not completely. Starting to bounce back, but not much. And then we had to take the people, let's just restrict ourselves to the south, to Gaza. We had to take the people that had their kibbutzes ruined, which Israel's going to have to help pay them for, and houses ruined. And we got to take them and, they ruined a lot of our land by sending fire balloons over and burning our agricultural land in the south. Israel should have wiped them out for that. You know what Israel should have done at the least? If you were going to play games, what I would have done is every time they sent the fire balloon over here, I would have sent 10 back to them. Just do the same thing. They want to shoot junky Katyusha missiles? Fine, we could buy 30,000 of those too. Set them up by the border. Just fire them at them. They fire 20 or 30 missiles. Fire 200. Whatever it hits, it hits. Who cares? They don't care what they hit. We don't care what we hit. We go to the newspaper, oh, they hit a school. They hit the... Nobody cares, right? Who cares about them? Just fire back. Okay? You think they would keep it up? Maybe. If they did, then you go invade them. But you don't invade them the way Netanyahu invades them. You drop 6,500 bombs indiscriminately on the place. Then you go in with the tanks. That's all. There's no answer. You don't make peace with them. They intend to attack Israel again, and they'll tell you. And people know how stupid Netanyahu is, and they know the war is just going to fire up again, so they're not coming back to Israel. So our tourism is dead. Okay, so we had to rehouse the people in the south of Gaza for over a year. So we put them in Airbnbs down by a lot and all around the country, and we put them in hotels, and the government had to pay a fortune. We had the same thing with Hezbollah. We had to take the people from the north for over a year and put them in hotels and Airbnbs at government expense. Okay? So don't tell me Netanyahu's right wing. He's not right wing. He's center. Netanyahu will do anything for Trump right now because he wants Trump to pressure Israel to get him that pardon. So if Trump said, I want you to recruit 500,000 Israelis to go to Gaza, sleep in tents, and personally remove the rubble as a punishment for them for destroying Gaza, Netanyahu would turn around and say, I'll get right on it, Donald. When these two jackasses get together at Mar-a-Lago, December 28th or 29th, it's going to be simply horrible for Israel. I don't know what they're planning for Israel, but it's going to be awful. And God is doing what he does frequently. He's letting their iniquity go to the fullest, and then he's going to drop on them. But it's getting there. Now, he's going to leave Gaza there with their weapons. I can tell you, we see that coming. It's coming down the track like a freight train. No more does Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Witkoff, or Trump talk about we got to disarm Gaza. If they won't do it, we got to do it. No. He can't get anybody to do it. He doesn't want Netanyahu to do it because it's going to look like a victory for Netanyahu in Israel. So he's just going to keep their weapons there. That's cursing Israel. Because they many times said they're going to continue trying to wipe us out. So Trump is cursing us left, right, and center. Okay? And you know what happens when you curse Israel. We've seen it with Carter. We've seen it with many presidents, with storms and hurricanes. But this time, it's going to be a lot more than just the continuing whirlwind of the Lord falling on the head of the wicked till it accomplishes its purposes. No, it's going to be much more than that. Much more. It happened with Carter. It happened with Clinton. It happened with many of the presidents. I think Reagan. It's pretty common with them. Bush, it happened with old man Bush. Very common. And they get bad storms, and they keep marching on. They say, well, that's the worst that God can do. What do we care? We'll rebuild it. You know, those are more or less warnings about what's to come, and also a punishment. So they're not going to get many warnings anymore. They're just going to get smashed. And that's the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, and now you see it. And many of you will reject it, and many of you hate Israel and think that America's doing the right thing, and that's the side you want to take. Go ahead. See what happens to you. The end of the age comes, and Trump and Netanyahu ain't going to stop it. And time is short. I mean, we're really getting to the end. Now, what he's going to do with Hezbollah, that's the same thing as he's doing with Gaza and Hamas. He already told Netanyahu we got to have a diplomatic solution with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So he gave the Lebanese government and the Lebanese army till the end of the month to take the weapons away from Hezbollah, which is never going to happen. Just forget it. It's just not going to happen, okay? Hamas got away with their weapons. Hezbollah knows that. They're going to do the same thing. All they're going to do is stonewall the Lebanese government and say, no, we're not giving you the weapons. You want to try to take them, see what happens. They'll shoot rockets at the Lebanese government. And all Trump's going to do when Lebanon doesn't take the weapons away from Hezbollah before the end of the month, which they're not going to do. I'd fall off my chair if they did. He's going to give them an extension. They're going to say they need more time. He'll probably give them till April. That's all that's going to happen. Nothing else. Not a thing. I don't know how long he'll give him for an extension, but he's just going to give him an extension. Is Trump going to go take the weapons away from Hezbollah? Never. Is Trump going to tell Netanyahu go up there and take the weapon? No. The idea here is to let Syria rebuild. Trump is cursing Israel with Syria. He took this ISIS Al-Qaeda guy with a new paint job, a suit and a haircut, took him off the sanctions and everything else, and now the guy's got the Turkish army, 3 convoys in there helping him. Turkey's giving him heavy military weapons, and the soldiers from Turkey and the soldiers from Syria are enemies of Israel. And there's chanting about getting rid of Israel. They want to sit up on our border and invade us. What does that mean? They rush in, kill Jews near the border, take hostages if possible, and go back into Syria. Trump supporting this buffoon. He's running around throwing Christians out of their houses, taking their cars, killing some of them. Trump don't care. He's killing Druze, raping them. They're taking them, the women and the children, as prisoners and not giving them back. Trump don't care. They kill all the Alawite Muslims. Trump doesn't care. He's doing what Satan wants. He's restoring Syria back as an enemy of Israel. So that's Zechariah 12. He's not going to stop Lebanon with Hezbollah from being an enemy of Israel. There you go. That's the northern border. The southern border, Gaza. He's not going to stop them from being an enemy of Israel. There you go. Now comes Jordan. And Jordan is an enemy of Israel, and they got 9 to 11 million lunatic Muslims that would love to storm into Israel. So you got that cowardly piece of garbage running Jordan. Okay? Then you got the Saudis, which are far from our friends. Then you got the UAE, which just talks like they're our friends. They're not. Kuwait doesn't really talk to us. They hate us. As does Qatar, as does Bahrain, as does Oman, as does Egypt, who's on our border. So, who's our border? Lebanon. They got Hezbollah there. Syria, they're there. Gaza, they're there. You got the Houthis, who Trump failed to attack. And he's pretty comfortable when they were attacking Israel every day. He didn't seem to mind, did he? No, that's fine. Satan told him, leave it alone. He left it alone. It will blow up in his face. You're seeing the last days of the United States. Read Isaiah 47 and, more importantly, Jeremiah 50:51. Daughter of Babylon is America. So now he's cursing Israel. Watch what happens. And he's humiliating Israel. He's insulting God. And where's that going to get him? In a very bad place. The whole country. All right. Canada is wanting to beef up their military by 100,000. I think they got 80-something thousand now. So I don't know if they're going to draft or recruit. They'll figure something out. This is fearful of war, probably with Russia. I'm not sure. And Canada's wanting to create some citizen soldier thing. I don't know what in the world they're talking about. A citizens militia. The way this would typically work, roughly, is they would report for training maybe 6 or 8 weeks. They wouldn't be highly trained. Okay? And they would have to report maybe for a week or two every year for training, and they would probably have uniform, rations, and some weapons with ammo in their house. So Canada could call them up, and they just put the uniform on, load the gun, grab their canteen, and they're good to go. So in the last couple of days, Cambodia and Thailand have been fighting, doing incursions into each other's borders, shooting missiles, rockets, bombs, bullets, everything else. So it's a real war going on, and to really become a seriously bad war requires an army to go invade the country, and that has not happened yet. So I'm not sure if it'll escalate there. We're not hearing anything about Trump trying to calm this one down either. But that doesn't mean he's not doing it. It just means he hasn't done it yet. He hasn't been successful. I would expect he's trying with his Nobel Peace Prize agenda, you know. Trump trying to drag the Israeli economy down when it's already dragged down with removing rubbish from our enemy that attacked us is a rather sick thing. So I expect God to pay back America in a very sick way, like that, very bad way. So we've spent millions of dollars on humanitarian aid for Gaza. And believe me, none of the Israeli people want to give them any aid. And with jailbird Netanyahu to be, with the prison hanging over his head, you know, he'll put up with Trump. He doesn't care what happens to Israel as long as he gets his pardon. He doesn't care. He's against us. He's a self-hating Jew. Okay, bye. We had an interesting occurrence with the Swiss people. They had some of their citizens show up at Israel with these flotillas to open up Gaza or whatever they called it, right? There were 20 Swiss citizens that were on these boats, and they just got stuck with bills from their government, which means you better pay it or they'll rip it off out of your bank or put liens on your house, your car, whatever. They got hit with up to 11,000 euros in expenses for each one. So the amount of expenses was varying, but I doubt any of them would have got away for less than 3,000 or 4,000 euros, as a guess. The reason for the money is they were arrested in Israel. They needed consul care, attention from the consulate. They needed prison visits while they were being held because they didn't want to agree to just leave. There required diplomatic negotiations with Israel by their diplomats. and then they needed a trip home on an airplane. So they ran up a bill and they stuck it to these people as an example. So this doesn't happen again with their citizens. They were not in the mood for this. They were not in the mood. And I don't blame the Swiss government, because this was just a foolish thing that couldn't do anything. It was just designed to attract public attention. They said the Swiss taxpayer is not your official sponsor of provocation. It was an interesting thing. I doubt they'll do it again. That's something you don't often see or hear of. Usually the governments just pay it and don't care. I think if we had a reasonably decent prime minister that didn't have 3 criminal cases hanging over his head, and Trump wanted to get him to pay for the picking up the rubble in Gaza to the tune of perhaps $70 billion, they would have said, look, we got economic problems now. We can't do that. No. Netanyahu apparently just says, yeah, sure, Donald, no problem. Hey, what are we going to do today about my pardon, And so he's selling us out for his own interests. He doesn't care. Silver had a new high already. It hit $63.98. Let's give a hand to silver. Good going, silver. $63.98. Earlier this morning it was down to $63.65, so it was 43 cents drop. Still very good. And gold's creeping too, up 42.76 for gold. So we'll give gold a hand too. It's coming back up. $10,000 for gold is becoming common with a lot of people now. They're saying that's where we're going to go. I'm starting to think, can we go more than that? I don't know. I don't know that. All you really need to do is see it hit $6,000, and you're going to have economic chaos. That's it. Really, at 6,000, even if not 5,000, 6,000 economic, 7,500 serious chaos. At 10,000, oh, it's really, things are very, very, very bad. And it's really likely, looking at it now, that silver would go to 150. Mm-hmm. Venezuela accuses the United States of piracy over grabbing that oil tanker, which they're bringing back to America, and they're going to keep the oil. And I don't know what they're doing with the ship. It's not clear. Trump may return the ship to the person that maybe it was leased out or something, or I don't know. He may keep the ship, he may not. I don't know what he's going to do. He could take the ship out and sink it too. We don't know. Venezuela also calls what happened a assault. So it's like they're saying that America did a piracy assault. It could be considered truth, I guess. But he tries to ignore the fact that he's working with his drug dealers and he's profiteering, believe me. The Trump administration created a new militarized zone in California, along the Southern California border. It was only 760 acres of California land, and the Navy got it, and it's a new defense zone protecting the border. So it must have been a weak spot, and a lot of them were coming through that area, were attempting to or something. So we've read scriptures in Jeremiah 50:51 about putting watchmen on the borders, and that's what he's doing, fulfilling the prophecy. And Trump had the Treasury Department put sanctions on 6 more ships, and 3 nephews of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. So I don't know what Trump's with the sanctions, you know. Carolyn Levitt said that the tanker known to be carrying black market sanctioned oil will be taken to a U.S. port as the U.S. intends to seize the tanker's oil, and that's subject to a legal process. So it keeps saying he's just going after the oil, so it looks like whoever owns the boat's going to get the boat back, but, you know, it could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe the news doesn't have it right, but the way it reads is that he's just going to take the oil, not the ship. So, the Thai military dropped 3 bombs on the border area. I don't know how hot things are going to get in Cambodia and Thailand. Um, so far, about 24 people were killed in the fighting in this past week, while hundreds of thousands have been displaced on both sides of the border. They're afraid that people are going to get hit with artillery and bombs and rockets and mortars and all this other stuff. So there's a general chaos going on over there now. Uh, I don't know where this is going to end. We could have a real serious war. I mean, a real war. Um, so, in interest of that, we better look at who their allies are so we can see what the potential for big scale war is. Okay. China's an ally of Cambodia. Um, but it appears that uh, they're predominantly going to be diplomatic and economic, and that would maybe include um, they do a lot of investments in Cambodia. Um, they do military training and they give them arms. So there you go. That means China would give them advisors and weapons. Yeah. Laos, that's a local military ally. Um, not real significant. And Vietnam, now comes Russia. Um, Laos and Vietnam could help with troops and everything. Russia, the most Russia could do is training military advisors and weapons, political support. Um, they got the Association of Southern Asian Nations, of which Cambodia is a member. Um, Probably just diplomatic, and the United States is a kind of friend of Cambodia not an ally. They got strained relationship. European Union is not. Um, okay, let's see who Thailand's allies are. So we got China and Russia involved in this, and that's enough. That's enough. Uh, um, Thailand doesn't have, mutual defense treaties, but America could be the best friend Thailand has. It's it does have a formal treaty with Thailand. Military cooperation and training are there. Uh, that's why Trump's not preaching peace. He's got a side he has to take on this. Now, Japan is Thailand's biggest investor, and they do some security coordination with them. Probably Japan would turn out to be diplomatic, economic support, maybe some weapons. Australia has a treaty with them, friendly, and they might help. Um, the UK is friends with them, it's limited, and they might get involved. Um, and Singapore is their regional partner, and India is pretty close with them. So China is maybe not as friendly with Thailand as Cambodia, but they do commerce. So with the UK and India and the United States on the Thailand side, that's it. So you got China and Russia with Cambodia, the US and the UK and India. Well, India won't fight for anybody, but the US and the UK might. So this thing has very good potential for blowing up into a big war. Can you understand that? I think so. Okay? So it's relevant. Okay? Uh California had a swarm of 29 small earthquakes 50 miles away from, I believe, LA, and they were feeling the shock waves in LA. See, these are kind of warnings, and they're repositioning the plates at the same time, warning to the people, but the people are keeping it up. They're not stopping. So Bulgaria was overthrown, basically. It came about raging street protests, and the prime minister, whatever you pronounce his name is, announced the move at a tense press conference. So he's stepping down, where he already did. This was a public uprising that actually did topple the government. And the curious thing is Bulgaria was set to join the Eurozone in January, and the collapse and the risk of economic chaos and everything else may get Europe to drop them like a hot potato. They don't want trouble, so they may drop it. It's pretty rare you see something like this happen, where street protests cause a government to break, to go out of office. We need more of it, but Iran had their first rain for this season, autumn, but I think it's just about winter. I think the 20th is the winter, first day of winter. But it's not really having much effect. They need a whole lot more to counteract their drought. They didn't get anywhere near that amount. So I guess it was encouraging to them, but it didn't get them where they need to be yet. So we'll see how that turns out. U.S. Congress passes a 2026 defense bill with major pro-Israel provisions. Oh, really? Let's read them. Apparently it passed 312 to 112 on Wednesday. Now it goes to the Senate, so it's not final. It goes to the Senate. $500 million for U.S.-Israel missile defense cooperation. Yeah, they want the Iron Beam, is what they want. What do you think? $80 million for joint U.S.-Israel anti-tunneling efforts. So they want to learn how to fight the tunnels, which is being used in America from Mexico to penetrate into America. So that's probably why they're interested. $35 million for artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and high-tech collaboration. $70 million for drone defense spending. Support for Israel joining the National Technology Industrial Base. I think that's against the help against cyber attacks or something like that. A direction to assess the impact of international arms embargoes on Israel. So this is an interesting thing. So they're doing some things, but not to the tune of $70 billion, removing rubbish. And most of the stuff there is selfish for America. Precious little is just to help Israel. And it still hasn't passed the Senate, so we don't know how it'll finalize, There was catastrophic Pacific Northwest flooding, leaving 100,000 facing evacuation. Governor Bob Ferguson said late Wednesday catastrophic flooding is likely and urged people to listen to official advice and follow evacuation orders. Okay, that I believe happened before Trump's fiasco with Netanyahu. You pay to remove the rubbish. This is probably for something else. NATO Secretary General Mark, what's his name? Rutte, R-U-T-T-E, Rutte, I don't know. Russia has brought the war back to Europe. Gee, how? By flying drones? We need to, by flying non-attacking drones, just surveillance drones, okay. Russia has brought to, okay, the need to be prepared for wars on a scale experienced by our fathers and grandfathers, World War I and II. So this is scare, and I'm not gonna lend much to it. They're just, by doing this, they scare Russia, and of course, there's a lot of defense spending and stuff like that. We do have a prayer request. I don't want to forget, for SB. Let's try this one with everybody praying individually, so we'll have a lot of people praying. Let's see how that goes. For SB, Sierra Bravo, SB, there's a bad situation in the family. Um, Pray for SB to get help with this situation, and the Lord would give SB insight as to how to approach these people in the family, and how to approach them, what to say, how to say it, and so forth. So that's for SB. There's a rough family situation, and we're going to ask the Lord to show SB, Sierra Bravo, what to say, how to say it, how to approach these people, and try to get the problem corrected or get it corrected for SB, Sierra Bravo. So you guys can pray for that, and that's important. We always got to take the prayers seriously. Okay, so um, I'm going to go through some more stuff about the law, about how in Zechariah 8, I believe it is, we'll cover that. The Lord changes the Israelite fast days, FAST, to feast days. We'll cover that. I'm going to take a fast break, and we'll go through that. And that's sort of a change in the law, but not really, as you'll see, because these feast days, they sort of made up on their own. They're not in the law. Boy, even with the heater on in here, it's cold. All right. Today, there was a lot of news, and it knocked me out. Not that bad, I'm fine. But I had to fish all this news out. And there was a lot of it, and it took a lot of time. But the only thing I can tell you is it's important that we know these things. Okay. See, Bulgaria, that's important because it shows us turmoil is increasing. The earthquakes in LA are important because that's a sign. What Trump did and is doing to Israel is important because that's going to bring down the daughter of Babylon. The war with Cambodia and Thailand is important because it has potential to go big, and Trump's not banging the peace drum. He's not sitting there going, give peace a chance. He's letting that one develop. He might be against Cambodia. And he could like this war. Okay? What Trump is doing with Hezbollah and Hamas and Syria is extremely important because that's taking us to Zechariah 12. If Hamas wasn't in Gaza, they couldn't do Zechariah 12. If Hezbollah was not in Lebanon, they couldn't do Zechariah 12. If he didn't set Giuliani free, lift sanctions, let him get his money, and he's letting Turkey put military there, Zechariah 12. See? Not doing anything against Iran means they continue to try to give weapons to Hezbollah and Hamas. He doesn't do anything to get Egypt to stop being on our border with over 100,000 soldiers. Trump is clearly cursing Israel. Okay? He might want to see Israel attack Iran, and then Iran will pound us with more missiles and drones and cause more property damage. It was 52 billion shekels, I think, in claims from the missiles from Iran in June. That's probably inflated, of course. But that was a drain on our economy. See, he uses us as his pit bull. America wanted to get rid of Hezbollah and Hamas because it helped Iran gain strength in the region. And they didn't want that. Why Trump hasn't attacked Maduro so far remains to be seen, doesn't it? I don't see any signs of Maduro packing it in. Possibly he is negotiating with Trump through Qatar. I don't know. We heard that might be the case. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Trump's going to have to go in militarily even if the guy resigns. Or the drug cartels or the militia or the military may take over. So he's still going to have to go in. Right? Trump puts a spoonful of sugar on the bitter medicine he hands out so it goes down smoother. Biden just gave you the bitter medicine, but they both gave Israel bitter medicine. The only difference is Trump dialogue makes you think it's good. Biden was too stupid to have a dialogue like that. The most uneducated, simplistic, true believer in Yeshua and Jehovah is way smarter than Donald Trump. You have to understand that. Because where it really counts, the simplistic, true believer is far better off than Donald Trump is. Okay. Zechariah 8, verse 19. Here's how it goes in the King James. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th, these are months, shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feast, Feasts, plural, feasts. Therefore, love the truth and peace and shalom. Okay, now we need to identify these things, and they're not really in Moses' law. Okay? So I'll tell you what we believe they're really referencing, okay? These are the national mourning fast days. Okay, we'll get through it. Fast of the 4th month. Memorial of the breach of Jerusalem walls by the Babylonians. This is found in Jeremiah 52, verses 6 to 7. Okay, that's your 4th month fast. It's not a commanded fast in Moses' law. It will be in the new law that should come with the new temple, but that's where it's going to be. Okay, so this is another example of Moses' law no longer holding, okay? Could you observe these fasts now? You could, but these feasts, rather, not fast feasts. You could, but without the priesthood and stuff, and no altar, no temple. Okay. Let's continue. The Fast of the 5th month. This was there commemorating the destruction of the first temple, Solomon's temple, and the destruction of the next temple. They both happened on the same day, which is the 9th of Av. That's the 5th month, okay? Coincidentally, not coincidentally, on purpose, they were on the same day. Fast of the 7th month. I don't believe they're right on this. It says mourning for the assassination of Galilee, governor of Judah. This is churchianity. There is no fasting for Yom Kippur. The rabbis made that up. So the rabbis imposed a fast on the people for Yom Kippur, which is in the 7th month, and that's what I believe this to be. The other thing is an alibi story from churchianity and rabbinical Talmudic Judaism, okay? It would be the fast that they created for Yom Kippur. There's no fast ever stated in Yom Kippur. And the 10th month fast would be marking the beginning of Nebuchadnezzar's siege of Jerusalem, as in 2 Kings 25, verse 1. Okay? So these dates God will give to us as basically He has, but we're not operating in it at this point yet, but we will operate in these as a fast day. In other words, a party, not a rave party with drugs and drinking and idiocy. A party like what? Dancing, music, prayer, and lots of food and kids running around and that kind of thing. Okay? All right. Now it says something. It says, shall be to the house of Judah for joy and gladness. Now, this is kind of curious because, Judah is Judah and Levi, and that's who's here now. So this is probably going to start when we get to redemption. And the second Exodus people are not really all here yet. My guess. Remember, they stop in the wilderness. How long they stop in the wilderness, I don't know. My guess would be like 40 days sounds about right. Not 40 years. Forget that. That's not going to be. All right. So a feast day is joy, rejoicing, happiness, family, friends, good time. Okay? Now, of course, the churches don't preach this either because the law to them is done away with forever. They don't have a new law with the next temple. They don't even talk about the two witnesses here. You listen to them talk about the two witnesses, and they talk about them dying and rising from the dead. That's all they want to talk about. They don't even know they're going to be working, operating for 70 years. They don't know that. I'm not talking 70 years alive. They're alive for years already on earth, but they're going to be operating for 70 years. Or almost the whole time. Not quite the whole time, but almost to the end. Now, Apostle John, it says, shall not taste the death till you see the kingdom of God. So he'll see, I believe, New Jerusalem, but it doesn't mean he dies when New Jerusalem comes in. So he may never, he had to put up with being here for 2,000 years. That would be horrible. So as a reward for that, he may never die until, in the blink of an eye, his body transforms to a spiritual body and they go up to heaven at the end of the end, after millennium. And that might be what he gets, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not that bad. I'd rather be in heaven, but, it's not a bad, fate at all. All right. But the 2,000 years, that was, I'm sure, hard. All right. I'm not, be careful what I say, but he's not in the lap of luxury here. He's not in poverty either. He's living the way people probably lived 2,000 years ago. I'm not going to elaborate further. They don't ever talk about the anointed prince that gets cut off, not for himself, in Daniel, I think, 9:26 or 9:25. They don't talk about that. They make you believe it's Yeshua, and ridiculous. It's not. Yeshua is the king of Israel, not the anointed prince. They don't like talking about the new temple coming down from heaven. They have the rabbis building it, and they call it the tribulation temple and all this sick stuff, I never also hear the churches preach to the glory of God of Israel. Satan hates the glory of God of Israel. Michael, he hates him. Who do you think took him and threw him out of heaven? Michael. He hates him. So he tries to blot it out. That's why they got, the rabbis building a temple. They just, The thing is, Satan's such a jerk, he might buy back his own lies. People do that. People do that. Okay. I wanted to go through Romans 11 today. And, we should go to Zechariah 9 first. We'll touch on the dry bones in Zechariah 9. Most don't know they're there, that it's there. What verse? Let's try 12. I think I missed it by 1 or 2. Let's see. Okay, this is Zechariah 9:11. As for thee also, by the blood of the covenant. Now, when they get circumcised, is there blood? You bet. Okay, as for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Remember, the beggar died and went to Abraham's bosom, and he used to beg food outside the gates of the rich guy's house, and he would get the crumbs that fell off the table from the rich guy and eat those, and the dogs would lick his wounds. They both died. The beggar went to Abraham's bosom. The rich guy went to the pit. And he knew what he was looking at. He looked across and saw Abraham and knew it was Abraham. And he saw the beggar guy there, and he said, Father Abraham, send the beggar guy, I forget his name, over to me so he could dip his finger in water and put it on my tongue because of this flame here. So the place of the dead before the judgment, before the lake of fire, is got a hot flame, and it's doesn't have water, so they run around thirsty all the time. It's a very unpleasant experience. This is the dry bones. Okay? Now they're separated by a valley, I believe you'd call it, and they couldn't cross it. So I don't know how deep the thing, it could have been thousands of feet down. I don't know. They can't cross it one way or the other. So Abraham told them that. And then the guy said something about sending the beggar to his brothers that were still alive. If he comes back from the dead, they will hear him. And then Abraham said, if they're not going to believe Moses and the prophets, they're not going to believe one comes back from the dead. Ta-da! Yeshua. They didn't believe him. Right? Okay? That's a good lesson to learn from. Okay. Turn you, this is talking to the ones, the blood of the covenant, I have sent forth my prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Have him dip his finger in water, put it on my tongue. Okay. Turn you to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. Why are they prisoners of hope? Because Yeshua, during the 3 days, while his body was laying up there, went down and preached to them. He told them in the pit, some of them, that they were coming out and they were going to go back to Israel. And I do believe they'll have the everlasting life, which is not eternity. Okay? Go to the stronghold. The stronghold is redeemed Israel, restored Israel, redeemed Israel. You prisoners of hope, that's why he calls them hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. They get the double portion, like we do. That shows you when they come back. It's a resurrection from the dead. I'll probably go through it with you in a few seconds. He goes on and says, when I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, that's the 10 tribes, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. Well, we know who wins. His sons, not Greece, the Greeks, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. That's us. Yippee-o-ki-yay. But see, we'll be fighting. I keep telling you that. Let's get on that. Let's not have any shockwaves down the road like, you can go have, egg foo young with pork or pork fried rice, or you could go have yourself a camel steak. You don't have any problems with the Lord for doing that. He made all the food clean. So we got on that. Let's get on this. We're going to fight. We're not going to walk around singing give peace a chance, okay? I mean, we will if they submit to us and the Lord. We're the Lord's ministers, so to speak, in these days to come. In a way, in a big way, really. because the gospel is going to go forth out of Israel. The true gospel hasn't gone forth yet in any big way. And the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord God shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. Well, the south is Saudi and Edom, which is Yemen. Okay, so he's going to be seen over them. You see, Yeshua is going to come at the right hand of power. They both come together. The Lord told Yeshua, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. When he comes down for redemption, closing out the age and giving us everlasting life. His enemies are not yet his footstool. That's why we go out and fight like a sword of a mighty man. The Lord of hosts shall defend them. Amen. And they shall devour and subdue with sling stones. See, we're going to be young again, and we're going to be, it says even the kids, the children run and get tired, but we won't. So I interpret this that we're going to have exceptional coordination and strength. I think we're pretty good, and in any event, like somebody in their prime, like, 22, 23, something like that, right? And we'll be able to pick up those stones, and we'll be like David. Remember, it says that in Zechariah 12, David, and I always say, he killed Goliath, the giant, and he killed a lion and a bear. Okay, you do. That's how we'll do it. You pick up generally a smooth stone. You have a pouch made out of leather, and you could have some string or leather cords. You could take the leather straps from the civilian and maybe use those for for your sling. And sometimes these things are 3-4 feet big, sometimes not. It's going to take a little practice to learn how to do it. But you could probably get the stone going. I mean, an expert probably get it about 100 miles an hour. That might be us. We might get it 130, 140 miles an hour. Getting hit with a stone at that speed would be something like dropping it off the Empire State Building on somebody's head. I think it would probably be going about 120 miles an hour when you dropped it off the Empire State Building as a guess, something like that. And they would probably go right through their head. So, no M16s, and subdue them with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as though wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and as the corners of the altar. That's talking about how satisfied we're going to be and powerful and strong, and and Jehovah, their God, our God, Elohim, it says, shall save them in that day as the flock of his people. Amen. For they shall be as the stones of a crown. Sling stones, stones of a crown. But the stones of a crown are precious jewels. Rubies, sapphire, emerald, blah, 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 right? The stones of the crown lifted up as the ensign upon his land, as a sign upon his land, Jehovah's land, not Palestine's land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty corn. Yeah, you'll find out he's beautiful. I don't know, lack of a better word, and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful. So does that mean corn on the cob or corn tortilla? Corn liquor? I don't think so. Uh, Tortilla, you could be. I don't know. Uh, Corn on the cob, cream corn, sweet corn. I don't know. Shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. That's why I said corn liquor. I don't know. It would be like get those jugs, you hold it with at an obtuse angle and go. Beverly Hillbillies, Granny and Jed, you know. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So we should go to Ezekiel 37 and build upon this. Of course, I opened it up. Let me finish it. The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Jehovah and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. Full of bones. And caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Now, this is a vision to teach a story, an allegory. The people that are in the pit, their spirits are in the pit. They died up on earth, and their bodies laid on earth. Okay? So they were very dry. That means they had no life. When you're prospering with life, your bones, the Bible says, are oiled the bones. Okay. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones. The Lord will do nothing until he tells it to you first through his prophets. And that's what he's doing here. Even though he did it, I'm just checking this, he did it many years ago, he still did it. It was done. So done is done. Okay. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O you dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you. Now that's ruach, I believe, which could be spirit or wind or breath, multiple meanings, okay? Probably breath. And you shall live. Maybe that means spirit. If they're going to live, it could be spirit. I'm unsure. And I will lay sinews upon you, cartilage, connecting tissue, I would guess, and will bring up flesh upon you, skin, and cover you with skin. Maybe the flesh is the stuff under the skin. And put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that Ani Jehovah, I am the Lord. So Yeah, I'm checking that. I need Jehovah. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, the Ruach, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind. You see, the Lord called Yeshua son of man, and he calls Ezekiel son of man. So it appears to me Ezekiel and some other prophets were sons of God that came down in a flesh body because God trusted them with his word. And a lot of times they suffered, not all the time, but they suffered some. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain. Now, the word slain, it's got different kind of meanings. Let's see how strong. It's to kill, to slay, to be killed, killed, slain. Now let's see how Strong's puts it into English. Smitten or smite with deadly intent. Destroy, kill, murder, put to death, make, slaughter, slay. So it appears to be a kill, slay word, right? Very interesting. So it says, upon these slain, I think they got it right, that they may live. So what does that include? Someone that got sick and died, or got murdered, or I'm unsure. I don't know. Does it exclude people that died of what they call natural causes, sickness, disease? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it does not include them. Only includes the Israelites that got murdered. I don't know. It might be that's the case. So I prophesied as he commanded me. See, it's a question of what is slain. What if God slayed them with a disease or something? It's hard to figure this one out. So I prophesied as he, but I have to leave room for it might mean just those that were slain because of them being Israelites and stuff. Could be. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet. An exceeding great army. So that makes me start thinking that maybe it's many of the Jews, because it says by the blood of the covenant in Zechariah 9. So it could be a little broader. And the slain could just mean dead, more like dead. Could be. It's hard. Then he said unto me, the Son of Man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. See, the whole house of Israel makes me think it's the whole house of Israel, not just those that were killed by an army invading to kill Israel. See what I'm saying? So the word for the whole is kol, which means all. So it would mean all, bite, all house, Israel. So it's saying all house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried and our hope is lost, because they're in the pit. They think it's all over. We are cut off for our parts because of what they did. Therefore, didn't do. Therefore, prophesy and say unto them, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, behold, O my people. See, he's addressing the whole house of Israel. I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that Ani Yehovah, that I am Yehovah, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land, that's Israel. Then shall you know that I, Yehovah, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yehovah. Okay? Then he talks about putting the tribes together, Israel and Judah, two sticks together, putting them together. All right. Which would be very fitting, first the tribes, the dead come back. So you're not just having an exodus from the nations, you're having a resurrection of the dead from the pit, the dead Israelites. What a faithful God he is. He does not leave us altogether unpunished. We do get punished, okay? But he does show great mercy. You've not yet tasted of the great mercy, but you shortly will. And it'll just melt you. That's the best I could do. You just feel like, it'd be so good, I mean, when God really blesses, it's just so good, So, and then you'll start to learn how limitless his intelligence is. You can't measure it. It's just everything. It's just so much. And then you start to realize what a wonder he really is. And, you start getting humbled. You become more like a child. People that don't know God, they're big shots. They know a lot. And they don't know nothing. You'll find out. And you don't need to, because you've got your Father, Jehovah. You don't need to have much. If God is for you, who can be against you? So, this is important too, because you're going to see them here. And they had Yeshua preach to them, but I don't know how much they know about how they're supposed to live, and if these with these people, if they were married, let's just pick a number, 700 years ago, are they still married? Well, it says death cancels the marriage, referencing one's still on earth and one's dead. But I don't know if they both get resurrected from the dead. Are they still married, or are they single and they're running around marrying other people? I don't know. We should pray for an answer on that, if you don't mind. I don't know. I don't know. If you know, let me know. I don't know. I don't know how that works. You can tell I've been thinking about it. All right, I got enough energy. We'll go for Romans 11. This is not going to be pretty for the church. Okay, but for us it'll be nice. All right, let's start with verse 1. Why not? I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. That's what we were just talking about. They're punished in the pit, but did he cast them away forever? You see, coming to life now. God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, the tribe of Benjamin in English, Benjamin, there's no J in Hebrew. Verse 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Boy, that's old English. What am I saying wrong here? I'm saying nothing wrong. What the scripture saith of Elijah, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed the prophets and dig down thine altars, and I am alone, and they seek my life. He got fed up with the Israelites back then, didn't he? What's been done once will be done again. But what saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image. The image word is added in, to Baal. Even so, then at this present time also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace. Okay, so I believe we have that today. And you've got the grace because you got the true gospel. As you know, most reject the true gospel. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. See, no more of works. The law is dead. You don't get anywhere by doing those works of the law. Okay. Of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace, but no more grace, but if it be of works, then is it no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. Okay, so he's saying doing the works of the law is not grace, and we're under grace. You got it? Okay. That's just what we've been talking about. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. Okay, so only the elect know the true gospel, the rest are blinded. And they're trying to obtain their salvation by doing the works of the law at the same time, ignoring the weightier things of the law and ripping each other off, and unequal weights and measures, and lying, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, verse 8. According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber. God gave them the spirit of slumber eyes, that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear. Unto this day, God gave it to them. That's why the dead are coming up out of the pit, the dry bones, because God stopped up their ears, closed their eyes, so they wouldn't turn to the gospel and get healed, and they got punished. And David saith, let their table be made a snare table. What do you put on a table? Well, let's exaggerate. You put your Wagyu beef, your caviar, your $500 bottle of wine, your gold silverware, your wealth and your riches go on the table. That's what it means. The fine things, okay? The rare fruits, the beautiful cakes and pastries, and that sort of stuff, right? All right, that they should not hear unto this day. And David saith, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. This is the chasing the money, the root of all evil, the money. Okay, that's what that is. When you got money, they take great care as to what goes on their table. You know, a nice ribeye, a beautiful potato. You know, good appetizers. You know that's where they put their money all the time, 3 times a day, right? Okay. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. In other words, they're bent over because of the weight of what they're doing in their life, you know. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Goyim. Now, the Goyim here, as I'm going to show you, are the Israelites in the 10 tribes that were without God. They were like heathen, okay? So you're talking about the 2 tribes, Judah and Levi, fell, and then salvation came unto the Gentiles, the Goyim. And you read this in the New Testament because they're preaching to Galatia, Rome, Ephesus, Corinth. Get it? Okay. Those are all out of Israel. That's where the Goyim were. The Goyim, for to provoke them to jealousy, to provoke Judah and Levi to jealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Goyim, how much more their fullness, see, when they come to the fullness, which is Judah, who's here now, oh boy, things get really good. And what a fullness it'll be, double portion. For I speak to you, Goyim, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Goyim, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Now, see, now I'm going to prove to you the Goyim are the Israelites that came from the 10 tribes that came to the faith, okay? In Romans 11:13 it says, for I speak to you, Goyim, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Goyim. I magnify my office. Now, the church teaches this is the non-Israelites. That's not what Paul's saying. So he's saying he's the apostle to the Goyim. Then he says in the next verse, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. So he's the apostle to those of his flesh, the 10 tribes. It's very plain and obvious here, but the church covers it up and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Life from the dead is the dry bones coming when Yeshua appears. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, thou being a wild olive tree, which is the 10 tribes, because they went wild, right? Were grafted in, okay? So he's saying, thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, which is Judah and Levi, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Now, more so Yeshua than the two witnesses, the olive tree, okay? Boast not. The olive tree probably represents the olive oil, which represents the anointing. I'm thinking on that one. That's as close as I could come with it. Okay. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. So don't be boasting. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, not because you did some great work, because of their unbelief. And thou standest by faith, because you have faith in Yeshua. You got your righteousness that way from him. Be not high, because you were called. Okay? God called you to him. By faith, be not high-minded, but fear, because you could be thrown away too if you're going to go off the deep end. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. So he's saying, the two got cut off, you could get cut off too. Behold, therefore, the good. You see, you got to keep going back to Paul said, the goyim are his flesh. You got to keep going back to that, or you're going to go the way of the church. Behold, therefore, the good. Now, there were people that were non-Israelite that got saved. Undoubtedly, that was the case, and it always is going to be that way. Even when they came out of Egypt, they had non-Israelites that came with them, and God took them and accepted them. Behold, as long as they followed the law, I guess they were fine. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off. So he's basically destroying eternal salvation, or eternal security, whatever the churches call it. And it's not a biblical concept. They made that one up. It's no eternal security, And they also, you can't, if there was eternal security, you would be giving man excuse to sin, and that doesn't work. God gives no man excuse to sin. Okay, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. You see, they can get back in. For if thou wert cut off out of the olive tree which is wild by nature. See the two olive trees in the parable in Zechariah 4. One represents the 10 tribes, and the other one represents the 2 tribes, Judah and Levi. My guess is, since Elijah trains the Levites in Malachi 3, his tree, which is all an allegory, would be the one for the Levites, and Enoch would be the one for the Goyim. Makes sense? Okay, so now we covered the olive tree. Shall be grafted in, for he is able to graft them in again. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, Judah and Levi, be grafted into their own olive tree? Yeshua came from, Judah, but anyway, their own olive tree, so they have their olive tree too. And the 2 witnesses got a big part here, as you're starting to get an idea of. But Yeshua is the most important, next to Jehovah. Okay, let's get that straight and not deviate off of that. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Goyim be come in. So some of Judah and Levi have it, and then when all the Goyim come in that should come in, then the rest of Judah and Levi come in. And so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. Now, we could talk about who this is. Let's check the word for deliverer. Uh, oh boy, this is a tough one to pin down. Okay. And all Israel shall be saved. Now that includes non-Israelites that are in Yeshua. You become an Israelite, and you're part of all Israel that shall be saved, obviously. So that should go without saying. But we keep reminding you. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. This is likely Elijah preparing the way for Yeshua, restoring all things, whom the heaven must receive until the restoration of all things. Since the deliverer is working on the ground, which is where Jacob is, the 12 tribes, I would think it's Elijah, not Yeshua. Yeshua's up in heaven. And Yeshua comes back when they've already turned back to God. So that's why I think that. I'm in verse 27. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. Now, it could be the glory God of Israel, but I don't think so. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. See, it gets thick. For the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. In other words, he doesn't change his mind to pull back on it. Okay? For as you in times past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. Even so, have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy. Now, I know you guys express mercy to me, and I thank you for that, but does the church express mercy to the Israelites? Where is it? I don't know where it is. I live here for years. Where is it? I don't know where it is. Get my drift? For God hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments. You can't figure, I mean, it's too much for us to understand all the time. And his ways past finding out, well, you don't know. It's just too much intelligence there. Unlimited intelligence. You can't measure it. For who, that's our Father, who hath known the mind of the Lord? It's impossible. He's too smart. Or who hath been his counselor? You know, like as if he's going to come to you and ask you what to do, right? Or who, he might ask you what you want or what you wish or something, but, you know, he's not going to go to you for counsel because he doesn't know what to do. That doesn't happen. Or who hath first given to him, and it shall be recompensed unto him again. And he doesn't need your stuff. For of him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. Well, that knocked me out. When it knocks you out, you know, it knocks you out from your eyebrows up. You get tired from the brain. It's not the same as, you know, going to the gym and doing heavy squats and bench presses. That's another tired, you know. Or going to karate school. When I was a teenager, I'd go to karate school in Manhattan. Living in the Bronx, I'd go down on the subway in the evening after dinner, and they used to work out intensely, and I would come home, and I had to walk down 2 large flights of steps to get down from the subway to the ground. Now they have escalators, but they didn't then. So I would hold on to the handrail some nights with 2 hands going down because my legs were so weak. I was afraid I'd collapse and fall down the steps. That's a different kind of, you don't get that in your brain. That's a physical tired. Okay. Or I'd go running. Later in life, I was a runner, and I used to run, I used to run 4 miles, and sometimes 3 miles, sometimes 4 miles, depending. And then after that, I was tired, you know. When I was pretty young, I used to run 3 miles in 24 minutes and then push weights in the house. So I had, back at that point in my life, I didn't want to get bulky with muscles because I felt that women would find it unattractive. I think I was probably maybe 30 years old then, maybe less, I don't know, something like that. And I didn't want to get bulky. I just wanted to be trim. But I used to work out like that. So after the run, 3 miles in 24 minutes is respectable, you know. I used to run by the ocean in San Francisco, beautiful air. I was just a few yards from the sand, and the air was fantastic to run in. Cold as all get up with the wind off the ocean, you know, but it was, you'd smell that salt air. There's nothing like it. That's the greatest thing on a cruise ship. 99% of them have, or I think all of them now, I imagine all of them have a, I don't know what you want to call it, a running or a jogging or a walking track. Probably 70-80% of the people are walking at a fast clip, and there are some runners. And it's good to do that because you get the ocean air. It's great. I used to walk fast. I didn't like running. If you run, then you could get yourself sore and wreck your trip, and just walking fast would do it. And that's usually how I got my son. I took my shirt off, I just wore shorts and running shoes, and I did the brisk walk, usually for about 40 minutes. and that would be my dose of sun for the day. I wouldn't get burned. No, I was out in the sun a lot, so I would already had some tan. It wasn't white, like chalk, and that would keep me uh, in suntan. And then I would try to, if I was going to hang out outside later, I would try to stay in the shade. If I was going to go sit in the jacuzzi, I'd try to find one that had a roof over it, so you didn't get much sun. And I wouldn't go now. I know people that lay out in the sun for 6 hours and then they turn red as a beet, and then their body gets hot, and I don't know why. It's too much. There's, if you use the lotion, that usually doesn't happen to you, but I usually don't use the suntan lotion. So anyway, so that's pretty much what I got for today. Let me take a quick look at the live stream to see if anything's there that I need to deal with. Okay, I've got everything up here. I don't think I need to deal with anything. There is no God like Jehovah. All right. Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for all the true believers, their families, and households, and me and my wife. I pray we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance. We'd have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, and we would keep getting healed day by day of things we need to be healed of. And I would pray for us to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole, and our animals and pets would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray we have adequate finances and then some. And I pray that we have an adequate amount of work and customers and clients as needed. And if we need jobs, we get jobs. And if we need health improvement to get jobs, we get them. And I pray that you would loose off of us any works of the unclean spirits and those that serve the unclean spirits. And I pray that the unclean spirits and those that serve them would just not be able to surveillance us and know what goes on in our house, in our car, and in our life. No matter what, they just can't do it. And you would bind them from doing it. And, loose off us any problems from companies, employers, co-workers, neighbors, any government, any business, anybody that's harassing and bothering us. Loose all that off us. Let us be free of it. I pray for our health to be good, of course, and improve if needed. I pray you would pour your Spirit out on us. We'd have the gifts of the Spirit and walk in them, and we'd have your shalom peace. And I pray that we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any car or vehicle or transportation method. And I pray that I could do better videos, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem and B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I encourage you believers to agree with this as well. You could do it even if it's a video. I'm rather sure God would accept that. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach and Father God Jehovah. And I hope you got something out of this. I think you probably did. And sorry about all the news, guys, but we gotta be a watchman, and we gotta pay attention to this stuff so we don't get taken completely off guard. The world doesn't know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen, but we only have a rough estimate of timing. We don't have anything precise because we're not going to know the day of the hour. They don't. Not only does the world and the churches not know the day of the hour, they don't know what to expect either. They know nothing. You know. All right. So that's what I got, and thank you for your prayers. On the economic side of things, I'm out of the woods. Now I need to get money for the end of the month to pay my electric bill. I got to pay the taxes on the property and other bills. Uh, we get all kinds of other bills too I got to pay. So I'm to that level. So I'm pretty good shape, but I'm not there yet. I'm almost there. So it won't take much more, and I'll get there. So I appreciate your help. And it was really a struggle. I don't ever want to go through that again. And I'm not nervous, I'm upset with Trump knocking the economy down. So feel free to, drop on Trump and Netanyahu with spiritual warfare. We've already given them a good dose. And we're not going to overcome the world with spiritual warfare. We overcome the world by preaching the true gospel, and that's a part of it. Not all of it, just a part of it. All right, I'm out, guys. Thank you.